Welcome, everyone, to the Bucks County Living Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Neff, your real estate resource in Bucks County and Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Today, we have the Business Director of Nurowav TMS, my good friend, Michael Smith. Thank you so much for coming today, Michael.
Alex, thank you. I heard the intro, and I think I might have played the record on that intro. I think I might have been the DJ.
Oh, it's a great record
in there. It's incredible. It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, the intro music is definitely one of the highlights.
It's better than coffee.
So, you as the business director of Nurowav TMS, tell me what it is. What is TMS?
TMS stands for transcranial magnetic stimulation. And what we do is we provide a service for people that suffer from major depression disorder. And in this country, there's about 20 million people who suffer from major depression disorder.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a startling number. And what's been found is that while psychotropic psych meds help a lot of people, there's a large group of that population that has treatment-resistant depression. And treatment-resistant depression. That's really where the psych meds aren't helping.
Wow.
They have a lot of side effects. They don't sit right with a lot of people. And typically you'll just get prescribed a different dosage, a different medication, and you're out of there. Now, we don't know what causes depression. I say we. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor.
Yes, and full disclosure, I'm not a licensed medical professional, a healthcare professional. I'm just a real estate licensee in the business of trying to help people. So with that, I really think it's important to investigate this TMS a little further, because reading some of the information that you had sent me, it's so interesting, especially that, 20 million people in this country suffer from a major depressive disorder.
Yeah.
And this is an alternative to medicine. And the beautiful part about what your company does is that you don't say, no, we don't like the medicine. It's just like, this is an alternative if it's not working, or coupled with
works
the
in
medicine.
conjunction with.
Exactly.
And that's really where the company that we work with, we're Nurowav TMS. So we work with NeuroStar, which gets a little confusing, but NeuroStar is the manufacturer, and they manufacture the hardware, software, the patents on this, the software that makes this work. They are our advisors and our guiders. As Nurowav TMS, we're located over at 412 Middletown Boulevard in Oxford Valley. We have a medical director, we have a clinical team, and we have care coordinators. We're in the process of rolling this out because we've only been doing this since January. So it's a startup. However, NeuroStar goes back to really 2008. In 2008, the FDA approved TMS for the treatment of major depression disorder. And 2008 was a while back. And people go, wow, what happened? Well, it was slow. NeuroStar has 11 published certified clinical trials on this, and just a ton of research papers on major depression disorder and TMS. And really what they do, I'll hold this up if people can see it, is, we don't know why depression happens, but we know there's a lack of energy in the brain. Your neurotransmitters are not transmitting. So what they came up with was technology that will stimulate your brain, ping your brain, so to speak. And they went through they wanted to make it seamless. So it's non-invasive. There's no medication, no direct oral medication. There's no symptoms. And what they wanted to perfect was the ability for somebody suffering from major depression disorder to do treatment quickly. And we met NeuroStar back in February after we heard about TMS, and it just hit me like this is a business that helps people in there. And we saw it, and we saw the results that when the premise is major depression disorder, treatment resistant, you get prescribed more medications. So the remission reduces. It starts going down, the effectiveness as you change medications. It becomes less effective on your major depression disorder, which also increases the amount of people that just stop trying. They give up. They stop taking the medication. So it reduces remission from which would be success. Remission is success. With medication, it's about 30%.
Wow.
This reduces it to 16%. As you get to like the third prescription, and we start doing research, and just in small zip codes, the amount of people that have been prescribed multiple psychotropic medications was a lot. So NeuroStar, 2008, by 2019, they had worked really hard to get almost every insurance company in the world to pay for TMS service. And it's really because of the results. The results, which are clinically based, they show an 83% improvement rate.
83%?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that you could have somebody that has been struggling with major depressive disorder, has tried a litany of different medications, and they are suffering from side effects of certain medications, or it might not be the perfect cocktail for them, because everybody's different.
Yes.
So I have family members that suffer from major depressive disorder, and they take a whole bunch of medicines, and it took them a little while to find the right prescriptions and the right balance of everything. So you're saying with Nurowav TMS, with the TMS technology available, you'll see an 83% success rate.
Improvement, yeah.
Improvement.
And we walk it forward, that 62% of the people who have used TMS found significant improvement, because it's relative. I think I feel good. Okay, we're going to count that as improvement. But when we start quantifying it, and NeuroStar has the largest database of clinical outcomes within the major depression disorder industry, it's just incredible because they track all this. They are very data. That's why I was drawn to them. Besides the fact that it helps, is that they look at everything down to the nth degree.
That's great.
In there. And then 41% of the people that have used Nurowav TMS, it went away completely within 4 to 6 weeks of treatment.
Wow.
Which started to get people's attention in there. And then 68% of the people with treatment-resistant depression maintained their success for 12 months, at least. Probably fell out of touch with some of them. And what we tell people is it probably has a 2-year effectiveness to it. However, your insurance company will reapprove you because of the success of it. They're not having to prescribe 5 different medications. It's a struggle. Of course, it's insurance.
Right.
But the success rate is there. That's when we first heard about the technology, and then we did the research. And we went to this event in San Diego, and myself and others are business people. We're not doctors. Everybody else there is a neurologist, psychologist, psychiatrist. And we were seated at a table with a gentleman who's a neurologist from Tampa. And they said, introduce yourselves. And we were a little self-conscious that, doctors. And he said to me, so you're a business person? I said, yeah. And he said, so do you think this is a good business? And my coworker, my partner, says to me, only if you think this works. And this gentleman is in his early 70s. I would love to have him as a doctor. And he said, I've never seen any technology in medicine as important as this since the MRI.
That's a bold statement.
Yes. And so I sat forward. I'm like, are you serious? And he said, I just wonder if I can make it work within my practice. And of course, I do the numbers for him real quickly. And I said, but tell me. And he starts explaining it. And they're doing this big presentation up there, and we're listening to this doctor. And as you know, to like you do, to be in a business to help people, like I can do your numbers for you and help you, and that's great. I have another business that does that. But making an impact in somebody, which we know if there's a somebody, there's some bodies off of it. So what it does is it pings your brain. Think of a really tiny MRI. And we use this. I won't put this on because my head is gigantic. But we put this on, and there's an orange dot here. So it's facing, the orange dot is over here. And our technology looks like a dentist chair. It actually is a dentist chair. Can you see that?
That's perfect.
And there's a coil on here. This arm pulls down. Much of when you go to the dentist and they pull the light towards you in your face, this coil here, and depression is treated on the left side of the brain. And I can't believe I know all of this in a short period of time, but that's NeuroStar.
It definitely sounds like you did your homework.
They will educate you in a gigantic way. And this is your primary motor strip, and down here is the hand. So it's on the left side, so we use the right hand to determine where that coil is eventually going to be most effective and what the power level, so to speak, to make the most effective treatment on your brain.
That's great. Because it sounds like, when you first say ping your brain, I start to get electroshock therapy
And yes,
kind of feelings. But I think NeuroStar and your company has done a really great job at kind of giving what the real difference is between the two, right? Where it's not electroshock therapy, convulsive therapy,
yes,
right? Where that is in more of like an outpatient hospital setting, and TMS is more of a provider's office, right?
And you think of electric convulsive. Who was the person who said, let's put convulsive in the name? That'll attract people.
They're like inducting a seizure in somebody, where this is you go in, you can drive yourself there, drive yourself home. You're fully awake. You don't need any kind of, I don't know, do you need like any lubricants or any kind of conductive
So what happens
jelly?
is we do that motor threshold, and we look to see, the first test is to see what moves your right hand.
Okay.
And we measure that, and then we start walking it back towards your thumb or your index finger, because that's as close on the motor strip to where depression is at.
Wow.
It's fascinating. And a doctor does that. A doctor is the one, there's a test that's done beforehand, simple mental health test. You have the symptoms of it, you're under, medication. How do you feel in the last 2 weeks? Okay, you qualify, or you don't qualify. And the doctor does the motor threshold with the assistance of a care specialist. And it maps, it saves it in our software, which is in the cloud. So when you come back for subsequent treatments, it's incredible. That dentist chair has different measurements on it, and we adjust them while we're positioning all of this. Your seat height, how far back we go, where your head is resting, where the top of your head is, and they've calibrated this. It's incredible to watch. They did a demonstration in San Diego. They had one of the NeuroStar employees' 12-year-old daughter's there. And it was called Even a 12-Year-Old Could Do This. And the 12-year-old did the motor threshold.
So actually input the measurements.
Measured somebody, found it, and with the help of a doctor right there.
Yeah.
But she turns to us and she's like, if I can do it, you can do it. And we're there with neurologists and psychiatrists. But we have a doctor who was very interested in this, especially after he saw, the impacts of it. Because they will, NeuroStar will hit you in the face with these results. And they're also, if you happen to, on social media, Google, whatever, you look it up, and NeuroStar is investing a lot in awareness of TMS. They're the leading provider of this in the country. There's a couple other manufacturers. However, we went with them because they make it simple. We were talking to a gentleman who's our clinical coordinator, and he was hired 3 years before all of this to make the processes simpler. And for us, as medical, non-medical people, we can get people in. And when we first started looking at it, the treatment time had just come down to 19 minutes in the chair, which we thought was good. It was 38 minutes. We are now doing treatment in 3.5 minutes.
Wow.
It's called a theta burst. And in the motor threshold, if you qualify for it, and the majority of people would qualify for it, 3.5 minutes. So what we realized after we got down to it was this coil on the left side of the brain, pinging your brain, is stimulating your neurotransmitters, which I never paid attention in science, but I remember protons, neutrons, and electrons and how they all activate. And that's what this is, and it's lighting up your brain. This is a non-depressed brain. And talk is cheap, numbers are numbers. So we were fortunate because we got the machine and we have the location. And we said, until we got our whole infrastructure in place, we should probably trial this. We got to find somebody who meets the criteria. And lo and behold, somebody we know met the criteria, was in need of it. Sent them to our doctor. Our doctor evaluated this person and said, oh yeah, meets the criteria in all cases. Major depression disorder, multiple psychotropics. We did the motor threshold on this person. We started the treatments, and after the third treatment, I started doing the treatments myself because I was trained in it. And that's really the beauty of this machine is the medical and clinical go up to this point, and then the care team takes it from there, which makes it effective in there. And if I could give you published results, which would be one person, I can give you intuitive what I see, feel, and hear from this person and this person's significant other who are just amazed at it. The mood, this person's neutrons are firing. Their neurotransmitters are going.
That's beautiful. Now, how long did this person suffer from this major depressive disorder? And,
for as long as this person can remember.
And continue to take different psychotropics
Yep.
and different medicines, and they do TMS for how long is the treatment?
It's 36 sessions, so you'll do it over 5 to 6 weeks. So you want to do it, 4 to 5 days a week because you want those
The constant
neurotransmitters
stimulation.
to be going on.
Yeah.
And that's where 3.5 minutes comes in. That even if it was 38 minutes and I saw these results and my insurance company covers it, or, I can finance it, the financing is really good in there, I would do it.
Wow.
And that's what this person and significant other said. you know, should this ever happen again, pay for it out of their own pocket if it's not covered because of the impacts. I noticed a change. However, I wasn't going to say anything because I might be a little too close to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then firsthand, unasked, and it works. And this person has done serious research, joined a lot of TMS groups, and that there's two benefits because, well, when we came up with the name, we couldn't use NeuroStar because they had the name and publicly traded company. And neurotransmitters, it just fascinates me. You know, dopamine, serotonin, I understand that, you know, these things pulsing.
Yeah, the
in there.
electrochemical signals joining between synapses. And
then what do we join it with? Because we
Yeah.
love neuro. And it's not neurology, it's neurotransmitters, which I guess is part of that. And I'm getting feedback from a lot of people, you included in there, and somehow I learned that the brain has 5 different types of waves. And I go in that Google rabbit hole where you start doing all that research and the 5 different types of waves. And I never paid attention in science or physics or anything. And I have a good friend who's a engineer, physicist kind of person. I'm like, tell me about this. And he's telling me, and I said, so we're looking for serenity. We're looking for calmness, for tranquility in those 5 waves. We want them to be like this. And that's what we do. And he said to me, those neurotransmitters fire and the waves come into place. And that's where Neurowave came from. So the people that will deliver the treatment are our wave specialists. They are basically going to help our clients smooth, tranquil, serenity. You know, we lead you to it. It's up to you to do that. And that's why these people will be so important to us, because all of the articles that I've read, and I've probably printed out, as you know, I like to print about 20 reams of paper of TMS articles. Research, but more like first person kind of things. Testimonials and, you know, some cases, I don't know if it worked. However, that care coordinator guided me on a path, opened some doors for me just by being there. And I always think of, you know, what is most essential is invisible to the eye. And that's why we have people in our lives that say, have you considered? I suggest, I recommend. My favorite, I know a guy who does this. I know a woman who does this.
I got a guy.
I got a guy. And that's really what we're looking to build, because we're not mental health professionals. There are plenty of mental health psychiatrists, neurologists, family doctors, internal medicine people involved in this. We're there to maybe give you an alternative, a supplement to complement. And there are off-brand uses for TMS. It's fascinating. However, we're only focused on the FDA-approved major depression disorder. Our NeuroStar has been approved, and it'll be in the 3rd quarter of this year, where on the right side of the brain, we'll be able to do OCD.
Oh, wow.
I'm sticking to major depression disorder right now because, you know, however that coil just moves to the right side. The software that drives it is downloaded to our machine. But we're focused on, there's enough with major depression disorder in there and kind of the offshoots of it that I went to my doctor last week, just met this gentleman, and he asked me what I was doing. I told him about this, totally unscripted. And he said, well, I write a lot of psych meds for people. I never knew this existed. And he said, tell me about it. And it's intimidating to tell a medical person what this is. And I start describing it, and he gave me 15 minutes.
Wow.
I don't know if I paid for it, but
You build your insurance.
yeah, exactly. And he said, you know, can you come back and talk to us about it? Because I never knew this existed. I said, let me ask you, what do you do when a patient says, I don't know if it's working? And he said, I'll modify the dosage. I'll prescribe something new. I said, well, this is non-invasive. There's no medication, and there are no side effects. The only, quote, side effect is your scalp will tingle for the first 5 to 6 times, because I can say this now. It's not your brain. It's the nerves in your scalp.
Okay.
And they're not used to this pinging. It's been described, and our patient tells us it's like a pencil tapping on your head, but you get used to it after a while. And in 3.5 minutes, it's over, and this person has had no side effects. We monitor every week. This person fills out the PHQ-9 form, which is a where you at in there. Our doctor evaluates it. Our clinical psychologist evaluates it. We'll come in, ask questions, and that's what we want. It should be, as for such a complex problem, make it as simple as possible and let that person know that, you know, you have support. Because, you know, I know people with major depression, and I don't understand it. Why can't you just, and here it is, you know, your brain's not stimulated. And medication will stimulate it. This is medication. The doctor has to write a script for it. And, but it's non-invasive, and there's no side effects. If I could list all of the side effects of psychotropic meds, it's incredible.
Yeah, and each one has its own different side effects from what I've understood from family members that suffer from it. And it's difficult to find the right cocktail. And like I said earlier, I think it's wonderful that you provide an alternative to work independently or in conjunction with the psychotropics and whatever other treatments a person suffering from major depressive disorder goes through.
Gives you a level playing field. Allows you to deal with the world on life's terms,
Right.
which is all we want in our lives, and we don't know it. And, you know, our goal, our intention is to work as closely as possible with psychiatrists, neurologists, internal medicine, family doctors, psychology groups, to help extend their treatment to their patients. And I understand that business part of it, and to make it as simple for that patient, because if you make it difficult for me, I'm out. And we were blessed to run into NeuroStar. They're located in Malvern, PA.
Wow, so not too far.
No, we went out to see them. Somebody had told us about them that was on the other side of the country, and we called them up. And they're like, well, why don't you come out and see it?
That's great.
And they're all really like super smart, genius people, and they simplify how this all works. And it's that coil. And if I can do it, a 12-year-old could definitely do it, and you see the results. It's incredible. Like from this along here, and these touch other things, you know, other type of disorders. They're looking at doing anxiety later. There are doctors that are doing off-brand for drug and alcohol addiction, migraines. Like, they figured out in there, but we are strictly major depression disorder. Our website isn't even up. We've been running so fast to build this. I have my email, michael@nurowavetms.com. The website will be up shortly. Always good intentions. I always say, if you don't have a website, it's not a real business. Well, I can take my own advice in there, and it's everybody who we've talked to about it is like, well, we'd like to be a part of that. How do we refer our clients to you? And but seeing this one patient, like, made it worth everything. And you know, it doesn't work. Maybe this is not an anomaly. This is somebody who you can see it. Like I can see the eyelid move when the ping happens. I can't see inside the head in there, and it works.
That's incredible, and I think that's so important because, it's not just a business. You have
No.
a purpose. The purpose is to help people and give them alternatives after learning about it, because I had no idea about what it was until you had told me about it one day. And when you told me about it, and now even today learning, diving really in depth with it, it's so fascinating to hear. I know people that suffer from major depressive disorder, and they take all the medications, and there are some serious side effects, and it can take upwards of a year, 18 months, 2 years to find the right balance between the medicines. This takes 5 to 6 weeks, 3 minutes to 20 minutes, depending on what kind of waves you're transmitting
Yes.
and stimulating in their brain, and the results are studied and put into a database to really see how are we helping people, and it's FDA approved. The Food and Drug Administration has approved this for people with major depressive disorder. So I think that's so important, because I think that's one of the reasons we connected, is
Yes.
because like we just want to help people.
Yeah.
Right? We just want to help people. How can we help more people, and how can we continue to raise awareness of our individual professions to help more people? You with major depressive disorder, me maybe with like first-time home buyers, right? People that don't know how to buy a home. I just try and raise the
ordeal.
awareness. Exactly, it really is. It's a process, and it's not going to take. It's not just a one-shot deal. It's slow and steady, and it's just one foot in front of the other to really get to that end result, which is that peace and that tranquility.
Because we're not experts.
Right.
You are in the real estate. You're becoming an expert. However, there's different people that help you in there, and that's where we saw this, and it was instinctive, I think, because I have a partner who's sober living housing, and this is such an extension off of it, and it just became like, yeah, if we can make this work, then let's do it. And NeuroStar is there. They are investing a lot of money in social awareness in San Diego. We met our brand ambassador, Drew Robinson. He was a rising star with the San Francisco Giants. What you would think of as a base, it's like, tall, athletic, good looking, everything that I'm not in there. And he suffered from severe major depression disorder. And I saw his ESPN story, which means it wasn't good when you see it on there on a Sunday morning. At that point, he tried to commit suicide 3 years ago. And he lost his right eye. Of course, his baseball career was over at that point. And his psychiatrist introduced him to NeuroStar TMS. It was almost a last resort. And all of a sudden, he got better. And I saw this story a year and a half ago on ESPN on Sunday morning, and they play that serious music in there. And I look at it, we're in San Diego, and I'm like, he looks familiar. And he gets up to tell his story. And this is what saved his life. He said, I'll never get back what I have, but I don't need that. And he said, I tried everything. And, I'm a first-person testimonial believer. Seeing is believing. We had the opportunity to talk to him afterwards, and he was laughing. He said, I do this for free. And he said, but, I get out there and I get to tell my story, and I get to show people. And that's, but so for 3.5 minutes, for 36 sessions, we were kind of kidding that if it doesn't work, or if you don't want to do it, we'll gladly refund your symptoms, all the side effects. But it's because it's so, like, you could have this or you could have that.
Yeah. And
that's what we're looking to do. The people that'll work with us will be people that want to help people, that enjoy it, and they want to do it effectively and not make it the longest process in the world.
Yeah.
In there.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
talking
you.
about Neurowave TMS. I'm so excited to see how the business continues to grow and how many people you continue to help. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So next, I like to move into a segment called the Big Three.
Okay.
So these are three
This
questions.
is the serious part
This
now,
is the
right?
serious part. So
Okay.
I ask everybody on the show the same three questions. So number one, what do you think makes Bucks County such a great place to live?
The amenities and its location. You can, in not a big footprint, you can hit water and almost mountains in there. And culturally, quality of life. I grew up in Northeast Philly, and this was always the country.
Yeah.
And it's so funny living in the country now, and I love Northeast Philly. You can get into Philadelphia, New York. Location, you might understand this.
Yeah.
Location, location, location. And what you're doing to point out a lot of the positive attributes, I've learned a lot so far.
Yeah, I agree. I agree so much that the premier location, just New York is an hour and a half away by driving. Philadelphia is a half hour away. You could be at the Liberty Bell, and you have water an hour east. You have mountains an hour west.
Yeah.
You have anything you need. So that's great. So my next question is, what is your favorite restaurant in Bucks County?
Well, I'm living where I live now in Yardley. I really love, and I would do an endorsement deal because I'm there enough, Vince's Pizza.
Ooh, great.
Yes,
Love
I eat
Vince's
too much
Pizza.
of it. If they didn't make it so good and so darn convenient, shout out to Vince's.
Aren't they originally from the Northeast?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right
they're
at-
in my blood, you know?
Yeah.
And then speaking of pizza, the mushroom pie at the Vault
Ooh,
is...
I love the Vault.
Yes.
I love Vince's too.
And they're right across the street from each other. And they're like, I can walk to both of them. So that's probably why I have to stay physically active because, and all the food at the Vault is good. That pizza is to die for. And then I went to Charcoal in Yardley
Oh, I've never been
recently.
there before.
It's really good, tremendous food.
I have to try it.
Very right along the river. Once again, Bucks County. You know, Newtown, all the restaurants in Newtown, that might appeal to me as much as that might be the amenity, that's most important.
Yeah, the borough style living.
Yeah, and you're close to those Trenton style pizzerias
Yeah.
in Morrisville. And you have, your nice Newtown stuff. It's food.
Yeah.
It's food. I really want to be a foodie, but if you put pizza in front of me, you had me at hello. You had me at the pizza.
You had me at the pizza box. Awesome. My last question is, where can people find out more about you?
Well, like I said, the website, it'll be NeurowaveTMS.com. We have the domain. We're finishing the logo. Alex and others were part of picking a logo contest. We have it. It's going to look really wavy in there. And I'm hoping next week so you can get that out there. And if anybody has any questions, they can reach me at Michael@Neuro, and we spell it NUROWAVTMS.com. NUROWAVTMS.com. I'm getting used to that. Now, we had to take the E out for legal purposes in there, and it was a different one thing. So Neurowave TMS. We will be able to be found very shortly. And I love talking to people about it. Like I said, it helps people, and this is what you do. You're the guy who knows a guy.
Exactly. That's what I tried to be. So I appreciate you coming out, Michael.
Thank you.
You so much with Neurowave TMS. I'm your host, Alex Neff. And as always, if you have any questions about real estate, you can always come to me about Bucks County living.